Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we will be talking about this new batch of polls just out today from multiple A+ rated pollsters, the best of the best in the polling industry. That really shows Kamala Harris taking a major lead ahead of Donald Trump nationwide right before Election Day, which is now only 20 days and 3 hours away. So, for example, we have a poll from Marist College, which is an A+ rated pollster. As we're about to get to, Marist was the number one, by far, the number one most accurate pollster of 2022. They show Kamala Harris with a 5 point lead ahead of Donald Trump nationwide. That is significant. That is a major, major lead that would produce an easy win in the Electoral College. And their last poll, which was conducted on October 3rd, just 13 days ago, only had Harris ahead by 2. So just in a matter of 13 days, Kamala Harris has climbed 3 points in the new mayor's poll. And if you're going to trust a poll, Mayor's College would be one of those pollsters. Now, furthermore, we have even more new data coming out. Again, this is all from just today. This is from TIP, which is another A+ rated pollster, one of the best pollsters from 2020. They got the popular vote spot on in their final nationwide poll. And in their new poll, Kamala Harris is winning by 4% just yesterday. So what they do is actually a bit interesting. It's called a tracking poll, which is having one group of respondents, keeping track of them, asking them every day, who are you going to vote for? Again, it's the same group of respondents. Yesterday, Harris led by 3, but enough people switched who they're going to vote for in the poll. Now, Harris is ahead by 4%. Now, I'll mind you, Joe Biden won the popular vote and he won the Electoral College, but he won the popular vote in 2020 by 4.5%. So to see Harris outpacing Biden in the mayor's poll, almost matching Biden in 2020 in the TIP poll, that is really stunning. One more piece of data. In the YouGov poll, a B-rated pollster, Harris ahead by 4. Of course, not one of the best pollsters. But again, this is just out today, and you can see how Kamala Harris is really making a late surge in this election right before Election Day. So, as I was saying, poll from a pollster like Marist, an A+ rated pollster, obviously that's important. But let's just take a look at 2022. This was the only remnants I found of the final Marist poll, as you can see, conducted on November 4th, 2022. That was a day or two right before Election Day. Now, remember, right before the 2022 midterms, what was everyone predicting? A huge red wave, right? Republicans were supposed to easily take back control of the Senate, gain some 40 seats in the House, and that did not happen. Now, all pollsters were indicating that, except Marist College, and it kind of went under the radar. As you can see in their final poll, let's take a look at the top here. These are the Senate polls in Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Georgia. In Pennsylvania, they said John Fetterman would win by 6 when every poll up to Election Day had John Fetterman losing. What do you know? 2022 rolls around. He would go on to win by 5. They were almost spot on there. They overestimated him by a point. In Arizona, they said Mark Kelly would win by 3%, 50-47. He ended up winning by 5. They underestimated the Democrat here by 2 points. Finally, in Georgia, they said Warnock and Walker would tie 48-48. Now, Warnock would go on to win in the runoff by 3 points. However, on the Election Day vote, right, Georgia does runoffs if nobody gets over 50%. On the Election Day vote, it was quite literally almost tied. Warnock took a lead over Walker by like 0.5% or something like that. Furthermore, in the gubernatorial polls right before Election Day, Pennsylvania, nobody was expecting this big win by Josh Shapiro, this big of a win. Shapiro beats Mastriano in this poll by 14 points. When you look at the results, Josh Shapiro would win by 14.8, almost exactly spot on. In Arizona, this is the big one here because polls are not looking good for Harris in Arizona right now. It really goes to show how she's probably being underestimated in a major, major way in Arizona. But Arizona, Katie Hobbs led in the final mayor's poll over Carrie Lake by 1 point. She would go on to win whoops, wrong tabs. She would go on to win by almost a point when every single poll for months had Carrie Lake ahead. And finally, in Georgia, they said Brian Kemp would win by 8 points, despite showing a very good Democratic performance everywhere else. What do you know? He'd win when you round by exactly 8 points. So the best of the best pollsters are all the ones showing Harris ahead. And when you look at these averages, it doesn't look good for Harris. But when you look at the actual good polls, the best of the best, you'll see that Harris is ahead by a lot more. So many Republican sponsored pollsters, Trafalgar, Rasmussen, SoCal, Patriot polling, what McLaughlin, that's Trump's personal favorite. There are tons of these Republican sponsored polls that flood the averages when in reality Harris is doing very well lately in these A or A plus or A minus rated pollsters. The best of the best pollsters, the most accurate pollsters, are the ones that show Harris with the biggest lead. And that is just a fact. So when you look at 2022, Harris was spot on. When you look at Tip, which showed in their final poll in 2020, Joe Biden was ahead by 4%. He won by 4.5. They actually underestimated Biden by a half a percentage point. And now Harris is winning by exactly 4% what Joe Biden was winning their poll by in 2020. It's undeniable when you look at the best of the best pollsters and not Rasmussen, not that other garbage that floods these averages. That is how you know Harris absolutely has the edge in this election. The media, of course, will play out this election like it's toss up, right? It's all for ratings, right? It's to get people engaged and excited. And sure, I have no problem with that. That is what the average of polls are saying. So it's not like they're lying. But when you really look at the data, when you look at the best polls, especially today, it's becoming apparent with this late election surge only 20 days before Election Day. It is undeniable. Kamala Harris does have the advantage going into Election Day, at least as of now. So, what if Kamala Harris, let's average these polls out, right? 5% in Marist, 4% in Tip. That's a 4.5 win in the popular vote. Of course, Joe Biden won the 2020 popular vote by 4.5%. So we're looking at Kamala Harris literally matching Joe Biden's 2020 performance. Now, not every state would be the same by margin because, for example, North Carolina is becoming a lot more Democrat faster, a lot more blue very fast. Florida's becoming a lot more red very fast. So, of course, whatever, they sort of cancel each other out. Even if Harris is exactly matching Biden in the popular vote, she could lose a little bit of support in Georgia. But she could really, it is in the realm of possibility, even if she is matching Biden's margin in North Carolina, I'm sorry, in the popular vote, 4.5%, then she could actually flip North Carolina at the same time. So it could go a lot of ways. Point being, point blank, she is winning the election. Whether that would probably reduce or keep Wisconsin as a tilt margin. Michigan and Pennsylvania absolutely lean margins. They're not getting any closer than that. Nevada absolutely a lean margin state. If she's winning by 4.5%, she probably takes Arizona by a tilt margin, if not by a lean margin. She could very well take Georgia. I don't know. I guess I'd give it to her to be on the safe side. But North Carolina would absolutely narrow up as well. So, this map would be replicated, which is not something that you ever hear when it comes to this election. So, it's definitely an important one. And of course, Democrats don't want to, play it out like they're winning big time because then their voters won't turn out. That's an awful strategy. But in reality, I'm here to give the objective facts. I'm not trying to, of course, boost Donald Trump or boost Kamala Harris. I'm not trying to make anyone complacent. As many of you commenters say in the comments, don't be complacent. If you're a Democrat, go vote. After watching my videos saying that Harris will win. No, this is coming from a completely unbiased, objective point of view. And when I look at everything considered, Kamala Harris will win the election, and she is clearly just making this stunning, stunning surge right before election day. I really couldn't have expected this. I haven't seen any forecasts, any updated forecasts when it comes to the 2024 race, like Nate Silver or anything like that. I should check 538 because they update with every single poll. But the other forecasters usually release their new forecast every day at the end of the day, at the night, which of course makes sense. But I will be very interested to see how forecasts change after these, multiple best of the best pollsters showing Kamala Harris with a pretty comfortable lead, which is not something we expect. I've been saying for quite a while. Yes, this election could be very close. And yes, of course, Donald Trump has a chance at becoming president. However, it is in the realm of possibility, despite everything you hear, that Kamala Harris gets a 7 state core battleground state sweep and actually outperforms Biden in the Electoral College. She could even outperform, if she wins by 5% or even outperforms that 5% a little bit, then she could win all 7 core battleground states. But when you see numbers like this, 5% from the most accurate pollster of 2022, a year that was extremely hard to poll and get right because of how Roe influenced, the overturning of Roe v. Wade, how that influenced voters' minds. Even with a poor economy, it was an extremely difficult year to poll, and you'll look at that when you look at every single average of polls from 2022. Marist got it right, though. So when you look at this, this is a number. Really, this is a pollster you can trust heading into the 2024 election. And when they have Kamala Harris ahead by 5, it really shouldn't come as too much of a surprise when you've got, all these other states, the 7 core battleground states actually going to Kamala Harris. It really shouldn't come as too much of a surprise. So yeah, sorry, my printer's going if you hear that. But